Good evening and welcome to the third episode of LPL Showdown. Tonight's matches are guaranteed to give 2 of 4 teams their first LPL victories, as neither King, Energy Pacemaker, Vici Gaming, or GAMT have yet to find a win. Toward the end of the night, however, the monsters enter the fray as both OMG and LGD remain without losses in the LPL. Raz will bring you a rundown of King vs. the Energy Pacemaker first. I'll break out the unlucky Vici Gaming vs. GAMT. DreXxiN will untangle Team Wii vs. OMG, and Froskurinn will finish off with the most exciting match of the weekend with Edward Gaming vs. LGD Gaming. Alright, Raz, take it away.
Alright, ask me a week ago, and I would have told you that King vs. EP would have been a close match. Hell, I'd probably go as far as to say it would be like a 20% chance of a 2-0 in favor of EP. That thought would have been based on my understanding that EP is showing improvement in their vision control, but hell, you can just go ahead and throw that one away. Looks like EP has taken a massive step back in benching Captain 57 in favor of the Korean Drizzle. Even if it was for one set, it showed that the organization doesn't truly understand how to solve their problems, or even what their problems even are. Well, it's no secret that King hasn't been performing, and fans' expectations of their success has fallen flat. But they've faced defeat in the past. It was in the preseason, and they've only come back stronger. So, at the very least, I expect them to play a very solid vision game, and to take control of that dragon early. Well, the 2 players to watch from this match is Kane from EP, and MLXG from King. In the LSPL, Wushin has taken a firm control of that matchup in the bot lane. Kane needs to pick a strong laner in hopes of overcoming that skill deficit between him and Wushin. If he can somehow wrestle that lane control away from King, it'll mean a stronger dragon presence, and hopefully that'll convert into an early advantage they can push. If not, he can always go for a scaling Trist and hope that they can get a solid stall. And even just take advantage of a mid-game misplay that King has been taking lately. On MLXG's end, hopefully he can pick up Lee, Elise, Rengar, J4, anything really. Because his ability to close out the map, force towers down, get that dragon control, just strangle the enemy team's ability to respond, is what'll win him this match. Without Captain 57, they'll just outmaneuver EP. Best case scenario, it'll be a slow process for EP to see any real improvement in their communication or shot calling, and having to face King with something to prove, I can only expect to stomp.
After last week, I'm pretty excited about both Vici Gaming and GAMT for different reasons. Hutong, Vici Gaming's mid laner, showed significant improvements from when I last saw him in LSPL on Vici Gaming Potential, holding his own in lane against Pawn and showing off teamfighting prowess that I didn't know he had in him. Carry stood up to some of the toughest top lane talent in LPL and going at Koro. I mean, I was pretty sure this guy was going to be pretty good, but I didn't realize how good. His engage sense was great, and even when Vici Gaming fell terribly behind in lane, they made an effort to out-teamfight both Edward Gaming and OMG, teams that have traditionally had the best teamfighting in the league, for near miraculous comebacks. I'll be honest though, my excitement for GAMT is a little deflated compared to my excitement for Vici Gaming. While I still believe all their players show a remarkable amount of talent, and the team will see an improvement when Xiaohu is able to return to the squad next week after his birthday, GAMT is still really green. They make vision-oriented mistakes and seem to just passively lose, falling back on their old bizarre stall-out routes from LSPL, and let's be honest, they weren't even that effective there. And if either of these teams find an advantage, it's likely going to be in the late game, though, given how weak both of their teams' laning phase have seemed. For my players to watch, I'm highlighting the individuals I feel are fundamental to their team's success this match. Dandy's adaptability in teamfighting is something he isn't typically known for. I mean, when you think Samsung White, you definitely don't think a team that's good at teamfighting. But he showed it against both Edward Gaming and OMG when he was able to isolate the key teamfight disruptors and keep them from priority targets. Getting zoned out really isn't something Koro 1 is used to. He's actually used to doing the opposite, zoning everyone else out. And Dandy's control of teamfights with Mata has kept Peachy Gaming afloat against some of the strongest teams in LPL. Tail, for Gamty on the other hand, is a sleeper ADK carry powerhouse. He won't turn heads like the big names, Imp, Deft, UZI, but his versatility has been a strength of Gamty that allows them to take control of the late game. Given Vasily's weaker performances lately, this might be a place where Gamty looks for an advantage. And one more thing, expect Ezreals. Lots of Ezreals. When it comes right down to it though, Peachy Gaming should have the distinct advantage. And I think we'll learn a lot about this team if they're able to stomp the lower ranked competition in LPL, sorry Gamty, as hard as Invictus Gaming and OMG have been able to in the previous weeks.
Despite these teams being so popular, I feel like this is one of the less interesting matchups of the week. I've been a World Elite and OMG fan since pretty much the dawn of LPL and when OMG got introduced. But, again, the thing with World Elite when we're making judgments about them is that it's more about the brand legacy than it is about the team legacy, as pretty much every role is different than it used to be. In every position outside of the jungle, OMG outclasses World Elite almost inarguably. Despite that, World Elite managed to take out OMG in the quarterfinals of Demacia Cup, so they were looking good in the off-season. They did exceedingly well in that tournament in comparison to what we've seen on the table for LPL Week 1. So that's part of the problem, is that World Elite doesn't look like they've shown up as a top-tier team in LPL, as opposed to off-tier tournaments. It's either that they're just not playing well right now, or that other teams relative to them were playing worse in the off-season. Despite most of the laners being a mismatch, the jungle matchup will probably be the one to look out for. Spirit is inherently stronger on paper, but we can't dismiss Loveling's strength in certain circumstances. Now, Loveling's kind of hit or miss a lot of the times domestically, but it's crucial to understand that his international strength is where he really shines. So he's a player that plays really well under pressure. Now, there's not too much of that going into a regular season game, so if he can't tap into that, then it might not be as close of a jungle matchup as we might hope. However, he does tend to get that international buff whenever he's playing across the sea, and so when it's necessary, he can shine. So we'll have to see if Loveling can pull out the international prowess domestically this year, rather than it being suppressed for whatever reason as it had been in the past previously. As far as other lanes go, OMG's bottom lane will probably crush World Elite's bottom lane, regardless if Cloud or Luo is being used, and lately they've been using Luo. The same goes for mid and top. Realistically, it'd be quite the upset if World Elite took a game here, especially since they've lost every game in the LPL so far to arguably weaker opponents back in Week 1 against IG and Snake. So I just don't see, Gigoing losing his lane, and I don't see UZI and Luo losing their lane. So we shall see. And obviously Cool is going to be stronger than Ninja.
And finishing the night off, it's going to be the match that everyone has been waiting for, LGD versus EDG. First and foremost, EDG had an identity crisis the previous evening in their match against Snake. They were once a team that thrived off precision and unparalleled synergy in late-game teamfight, earning them the nickname Baby Blue due to their likeness of Samsung Blue in style. This is not the case anymore. Their teamfighting against Snake was lacking target focus and synergy. Their Samsung White acquisition of Pawn is a 180 in retrospect to former mid laner Yu, and seems to dominate in skirmishes, but if he can't secure a snowball off early plays, could not perform in teamfights. Likewise, EDG thrived off the dynamic between Koro's zoning technique and Name's positioning. Deft is very like to Name, but Koro has radically shifted his champion pool and role in teamfights from bruisers to hard carries, and appears to show some growing pains. Last night, EDG's bread and butter technique of teamfights was debunked when put to the test against Snake. All eyes are now on EDG, and you can bet that LGD is looking for an opening to exploit a weakness. With Flandre's success splintering EDG, Flame now appears to be a very valuable and viable option as their styles overlap. LGD has historically been known as a rotation-based team. With their recent Korean acquisitions and upgrades, they married the perfect storm of strategy and mechanics and have been impressive on both fronts. It was a valid position to think that EDG would be the only thorn in LGD's side, but if EDG cannot recover from last night, and if Snake exposed an Achilles heel, LGD has all the threats to execute and rise. Now, every lane across the board are eerily parallel to each other. Koro is unique in that he's well known for a bruiser utility player, but has recently been shown a streak of brilliance on picks like Aurelia. He's flexible in that should LGD decide to play Acorn and Flame, he could be a match for either style. Not near to the same mastery, but enough to slow them down. Likewise, Clear Love, often criticized for his low-pressure jungling, is across from Chwin, easily the weakest link in LGD's lineup with a lackluster champion pool and hit-or-miss mechanics. Wayless and Pawn are both skirmish-based mid laners with unique champion pool, although Wayless has a reputation of playing more fringe picks, which takes us to the featured matchup in the bot lane, Imp and PYL versus Deft and Mouse. This should clearly be weighted to PYL and Imp, and very reminiscent of Samsung White's bot lane with Mata and Imp. But the sheer narrative of these two Korean AD carries facing off is exciting in itself, and likewise, Deft has been the consistent backbone of EDG in their victories. Mouse is not near the caliber of PYL, but has shown throwback picks to his mid-maining days with picks like Annie, and EDG uses him well to snowball early. The bigger factor is if PYL and Imp can run away with the lane, it frees PYL for roaming. As the captain and shot caller of LGD, the quicker he gets involved with the map, the more devastating LGD become. If you're going to watch any game, it's this one. And that's your LPL Showdown.